Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV podcast 606. Coming at you remotely, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, down in Austin, Texas. Johnny, you're back home. How are things in Wisconsin?
Well, I mean, they're doing okay. Weather is, I'd say a little bit chillier than I'd like. We're kind of pushing lower 50s here. So I would love it to be a little warmer here in the great state of Wisconsin, but it's nothing horrible. So I can handle that. I think better than 90, 95 in some places. So.
Yeah, I touched down in Austin last night, and the first thing I did when I got out of the plane, it was like gross. I mean, it was 80, 86, 88, but then like with humidity, and it just kind of brought me back to Thailand for just a moment. So today, however, about 20 degrees cooler and no humidity, and I will talk about it a little later, but all maybe a little preview of what may or may not be to come for some weather here in Austin for our DGPT Plus event. But we'll talk about that in a little while. Tonight, we're going to open up with, before we talk about Austin, I think we're going to talk about some other good things that are going on around the world in terms of disc golf growth, development, exploration, all of those types of things. And there's no better guy to do it, to give us the updates other than Zachary Smith, who we're going to welcome in now from the Paul Macbeth Foundation. Zach, how are we doing tonight?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Oh, as always, we enjoy having you on. Every time you come on, usually you're telling us about the growth of disc golf, so I don't think there's a better reason to have anybody on.
Yeah, well, it was great last week for us. We just got back from the Dominican Republic. Our full team just finished up today, and man, Dominican Republic is going to be on the map here in disc golf very soon.
Well, let's give everyone just a little bit of the backstory as to how this project came about. Has disc golf been there before? Is this the first of its kind? Who were kind of the key people and the key elements to getting it going? Set up that story and that process for us just a little bit.
Yeah, so here at the Paul Macbeth Foundation, our goal is to provide disc golf access to everyone in the world. And so fortunately, we made a connection at Worlds 2 years ago in Lynchburg to a executive director of another nonprofit. His name was Danny Rodriguez, and he has been working in the Dominican Republic for the past decade, helping communities get access to water. So a very critical life need that these communities need. He's just been doing amazing things down there, and we got a chance to actually visit a site as well that I'll talk about. But anyway, we connected with him. There's a little bit of gap, and then we finally kind of got the ball rolling again, and they have strong partners that they're doing such great work. A lot of people in the Dominican Republic know about their organization, and so we said, hey, who can we work with to put a disc golf course in? So we had Parque Central downtown. It actually was an old airport. So like the strip down the middle, it's a long walking path. They've got basketball courts now. And on each side, the north and south side, there's a lot of wooded area. Half of it's used for kind of walking trails. And there's some concerts and events that they put on in the park. And they get thousands of people walking through the park every single day. And as of Friday of last week, they have a full 9-hole disc golf course ready to play. We did a grand opening ceremony. Tee signs are up, basket bands with the Dominican Republic colors on it, and KS Disc Golf, for those that don't know, can come up and scan a QR code that says, what is disc golf? And it takes them to a Spanish-speaking video that tells them this is what disc golf is and invites them out to play. So it was really great. So it's been a kind of a long time planning. We had an advanced team trip go and scout out the course and do the course design last October. And then as of, like I said, last Friday, it was fully in the ground.
When you talk about these partners and getting the right people involved, first of all, congratulations, but getting all these people involved, I feel like some of these projects move very swiftly and some of them just, by the nature of them, take a little bit more time. When this was like first talk to first basket in the ground, roughly how much time were we talking here? What was that timeline?
So first real like communication was Lynchburg, so that would have been August of 2024. But then we kind of reconnected. It was just like a couple emails here or there, and then we reconnected kind of spring of 2025. So I would say like actual planning for a course was kind of spring of 25 and took 1 full year.
Which is incredible. I think anytime you're getting a course in, whether it's the nearby local municipality in a thriving and growing city, or you're talking about something that's international, sometimes on another continent, whatever the case might be, wherever they are, to have such a short turnaround is very impressive in itself. How many people were part of the overall project that came from the U.S., volunteers, coordinators, all that other stuff? How many people did you have roughly?
So from the U.S., we actually only had 3, or 4, but we actually had quite a few Canadians join us on this one. So Jeff McKeegan and Chain Link Disc Golf up in Toronto, they've been doing just great work installing courses in the metropolitan area of Toronto. It was a perfect fit for him to be a part of this project, seeing all of the work they've done of, maybe it's not the expansive parks that some of the courses we have here in the U.S. are, but that is also the more prime areas for where the people are. So he can fit 9 holes into a smaller space, and it was very well designed. When I got eyes on it, I was like, man, this just checks all the boxes. We always talk about we want a safe course, we want a fun course, and we want a course that's going to keep people coming back. And he just did a great job with that.
When you're looking at some of these projects, of course, it's always about getting that first one, that planting that seed. And for, like you just said, hopefully people will keep coming back. What do you feel like some of the, either the potential is, or some of the chatter that you've, maybe preliminarily heard or seen in terms of growing it there, and does it have a chance to sprawl out to other areas, that kind of stuff? Basically, like, what's the outlook down there?
Yeah, this project was probably our first one where we were on the ground and we had more people reach out and say, hey, I'm in the Dominican Republic and I want to come get involved and be there for it. And so we had at least once again, it doesn't sound like a big number, but 5 people reached out through Instagram or Facebook and said, hey, I'm there. I'm going to show up. What time's the grand opening? And so those were mostly all expats that, played disc golf in the U.S. and went to the Dominican Republic. Most of them brought their discs, just hoping that one day they'd have a disc golf course. And they all showed up and were there. But having a strong contingent of people that do already know about the sport is a really big help. And, I think there's just really strong potential, and I always point it back to the community, right? If there's not a community leader who's really excited for the sport, we just don't see the success happen long term. It might still be a successful course. It creates access for people, but it's not going to be what I would consider like the most thriving location. Whereas this one, our partner just is so connected, and the people that he works with and their staff, they have a staff of 55 people, all from the Dominican Republic. And so they were all there for the grand opening. They got to play the course, and now that's theirs. They're the ones living there and they get to be a part of it. And so I just see, a lot of potential there, especially, we did have some challenges on this one, similar to one that we had with you, Terry. We had some challenges, as they all do. This one was more unique because we had been meeting with we had a second property we were going to install a course at. It was a university, and we'd been meeting with them. Their staff had been on site multiple times leading up to it, but the area that we were going to use, it required some legitimate cleanup that couldn't really be done by hand with a team on the ground. And so we kept being told, hey, this is going to happen, we're going to get it done. But then when our team was on the ground, after all the materials were delivered and we're ready to go, we show up and it's just not done. And matters kind of got worse because it wasn't only like, oh, it's going to be really rough for the people, but there's also like some gray water from a kitchen and runoff and all this stuff that ended up saying, hey, we have to pause on this. We've got baskets here. We're ready to do this. But unfortunately, you guys aren't ready. And so we thought we were installing 3 courses. 2 were going to be at the university. 1 was a public one, 3-hole, just to get people involved, and then a 9-hole for the students. And it was really a bummer to get down there and be like, man, we were hyping this up. We're going to do 3 courses, and we weren't able to do it. But on the flip side, as we leave this trip, working with Blue Missions, once again, they're so connected. They never really went down their list of all the places that they could have put a course in. And so now they're starting to go through that list. And before the team even left, they scouted out 4 or 5 different sites, another university that seems to be ready for a 9-hole course. And so I have no doubt in my mind that before the end of this year, we'll get the other courses in the ground. We'll get these baskets in the ground where they need to be and start playing. But it all just kind of goes together in that thriving community that I expect and I believe we'll see coming up soon.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of symbolic of when you have a bunch of go-getters together, even when something, outside of your control didn't get necessarily crossed off the list, or that I didn't get dotted, by no fault of yours, some creativity, some pivoting, some additional force or a dreaming foresight, whatever you want to call it, all of that kind of rises up. And the next thing you know, maybe you're finding a solution that's as good or better once you've pivoted. And I think that's crucial to have when it comes to the idea of going and bringing a brand new sport to a different country and introducing it for the first time ever. Being a little bit flexible, I think, probably goes a long way. So, when one door closes, another one opens, or something like that, or I don't know, whatever they say sometimes. What if you had to describe the course? And I know you said fun and safe, which are obviously 2 key elements. How would you kind of what would be your brief description, or maybe it's even on UDisc or somewhere else? What's the description of the course for the 9 holes?
Yeah, so we've got the starting hole, super short, 110 feet, I think. It really draws people in. It's actually the first tee is positioned right beside their workout stations that I know, at least here in America, I feel like anytime I see a workout station, nobody's ever on it. But in the Dominican Republic, there were people on it the whole time. So I think catching the athletic side of people, drawing them into the course, I think it's going to be really good. So the first hole, fairly short, but draws people in. It's definitely aceable. And then throughout the course, most of the holes range from anywhere from 130 to 208 feet, which the longest one, we got to tie in some Dominican and call it Big Papi. It was pretty exciting to see some of the faces of the Dominicans when they would get there and be like, oh, this one's longer than the other ones. And they were up for the challenge. But in general, it's a pretty tightly wooded course as well. So you have to hit a line. There's multiple lines on most of the holes, but it's going to definitely teach these players on, hey, you can't it's not about just throwing in an open field. You have to kind of shape a disc to fly the way you want it to do. And so I think that's really good for a first course like this. Even though the distance isn't there, the shape of the shots that they're going to have to make is going to really train them up quickly.
What you just said, I think I'd like to echo in a slightly different way of, there are times where I've been in other countries, and we all know it. When you go out to a park and you'll see the old, usually like rundown, dilapidated fitness trail or workout equipment, more often than not, at least in the U.S., they're just all but abandoned. Like, there was definitely a big push for those. I don't know in what decade. I don't know if it was 90s or 80s or 2000s, but there was a big push for those. A lot of those people, installers, made a lot of money in parks. They're just usually not often used. And then when I was, for instance, in Mexico, both times I've been in Mexico, we've been at 2 different parks, and both of those parks, just like you said, were like the public gym area. Tons of people there utilizing. In fact, one of them had a whole bunch of stuff as if it was an actual gym, but it was outdoors and open space, and tons of people were using it. And then the fitness trails and the various apparatus things were set up all over the place. So I just want everyone to keep in mind, although ours usually look abandoned, I don't feel like that's necessarily true in a lot of other countries. So the fact that you're able to tie those together, I think, is, like you said, a really clever idea that might introduce, at least pique the interest of others. And I feel like it was the same when we were in Uruguay. We were there in a very busy park, and there's other people doing a whole bunch of other things, fitness related or otherwise, and just kind of naturally being there, is going to get a few people interested. How much do you look at that? When you're putting in a course, how much do you try to look for those types of scenarios at other properties?
I would say that's always kind of a added bonus. Our priority is to find a space that is suitable for a disc golf course, which we know most spaces can be, but you've got to have the right size. It's got to be, it's got to have some obstacles. And then once we have that space, we just try to really maximize what's the space offering and really look at like, how is the community using it and how does it fit well with their community? At the end of the day, it keeps going back to what's the community doing, and we need to help them have the easiest or like the path of least resistance for them to start playing disc golf.
Yeah, what this project that you guys just did, what is on the horizon? And as always, we like to talk about how can people either get involved and or be putting in, trying to be, whether it's an installer, putting in a course, traveling to an event, or even just people that are still trying to make a proposal. Kind of break down those steps for everyone before we move on to one of your other big campaigns.
Yeah, I would say before I jump into that, I do want to highlight, I don't even think I didn't send this into text to you, but we actually had a grand opening in Ukraine on the same day as the Dominican Republic. So we had a team in the Dominican Republic, and then we had a team in Ukraine. And we had a lot more pre-work done in the Ukraine, so we didn't have to send as big of a team, but we had that grand opening. So we introduced two new communities on the same day, which I just feel like is always special. It's a little bit difficult logistically, if I'm being honest, to share it well. Social media, it's hard to do all of that. So we're posting a lot more about that kind of this next week. But that was just another Rockstar project, an 18-hole course. We're partnered with an organization there that actually helps mostly kids that have been traumatized from the war. They kind of take them in. They have programming for them. And this was really an abandoned piece of property. Nobody went to this other than, kind of the best word I can think of off the top of my head is the hoodlums that would go out there and do things they're not supposed to do. So us bringing a disc golf course to that park wasn't even the only thing. We got to partner with them, and they put in a new playground and some new shelter houses, and they're really making this, they're calling it kind of a community hub. And so it was just really cool to be a part of not only one project in the Dominican Republic, but a project in the Ukraine at the same time that just has just as much community aspect going on afterwards as well.
Yeah, and what I'll quickly echo is along those lines of that celebration. I think about two courses possibly opening in a same state on any given weekend would maybe have been a big deal, or two courses opening in a community or across the country, whatever. You guys literally having grand openings on the opposite sides of the world for the Macbeth Foundation, or for any foundation for that matter, where we're spreading international disc golf love at that scale, and having courses open that you guys are spearheading, I think is it's incredible. And I guess I'd follow it up and say, did you ever imagine in the early days of the Macbeth Foundation saying, yeah, we have to split our time on a given Saturday between two different countries because we're having grand openings on the exact same weekend? Is that almost unbelievable to you?
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, it has just taken such a life of its own. And lead into kind of your question, what can people do? Keep sending us places that you either travel to or have connections with, and say, hey, this country needs a course, or this city, needs a course, and make those connections with us. We talk to a lot of people, and maybe 10% of them turn into courses, but we are getting inquiries, and without those inquiries to build courses, we won't be able to do it. And so that's where we need the public's help as well. As much as we're also a foundation, we have to raise money as a nonprofit. We also need your help to actually do our real programming of putting these courses in.
Well, I'm going to put in a plug, and I think there's been conversations, but if I have to jump in and be a part in any way, I know I've talked to Owen Scoggins a number of times. I know Owen, I think, has talked to Paul even a number of times, and Paul, even with his foundation, only pulls so much. But getting something over in Laos, as we're seeing Thailand grow, we're seeing Cambodia with the course, we're seeing Vietnam just having one of their first sanctioned events recently, uh, Malaysia, all of those countries there growing, and to not have something happening in Laos feels like a travesty. So when we have, the international superstar that is Owen Scoggins, so if there's anything I can also do to help in that regard anywhere over there, I'd love to help. But yeah, I know Owen would love to get something going. So one way or another, let's all get on the same page about it. That's my personal plug there. All right.
Yeah.
Personal plugs aside, you need funding. You need money. And last year, you guys came up with a really cool campaign. This year, you want to run it back. Tell us what it is, and then any variations aside from the date change.
Yeah, so really excited to do this again this year. It's called Throw for More. And at the end of the day, what we need is people to go out and play as much disc golf as possible. UDisc is a fantastic partner with us. They obviously want to see as many courses in the world as possible as well. And so they have committed to giving 10 cents for every single round that is played on June 20th for Throw for More. So no matter where you are in the world, no matter how many people are on your card, you start a round and finish it, that's going to be 10 cents donated to the Paul Macbeth Foundation. And so the way we've structured this to really maximize the impact is similar to like a walkathon or a jogathon where people will pledge to you based on your performance. It's the same thing here. So if somebody can say, I'll give you $1 for every hole that you play that day, and then people can raise their money that way. You can give a flat donation as well, but obviously it's a little more fun when you're out there playing and like, oh man, if I play one more hole, it's going to be $5 more or whatever that is. It's a fun activity for people to do, and for me it was great because I got my kids involved. We play a little bit. They're still a little young, but they played 2 rounds. They were 5 and 6 at the time, and I think this is an opportunity not only for us to raise funds, but to really get new people into the sport, whether that's you inviting them to just come out and play, or even sharing with a family member that doesn't know anything about disc golf but knows you're passionate about it. We saw over 50% of our donations come in from people that are not disc golfers and don't really care about the sport, but they care about the person that's making the ask to them because it's something that they're passionate about. And so that's where we need people's help. We know disc golfers are passionate. They want to see more courses. They want to play as much as they can. Just sign up. It's free to sign up. Track your holes. If you raise $1, great. If you don't raise $1, no problem. But what we see is when momentum starts with a lot of people signing up, everybody gets excited about it, and we just want everyone to be involved because I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and to follow up that point, even if you don't necessarily raise money, obviously any money raised is still money, and every grain of salt, so to speak, helps, or every grain of sand, whatever, maybe there's a saying in there. But even if you don't, there's still that tracking mechanism. We're still proving through UDisc, we're still proving that there's people that care, that are going out and playing and having this very concentrated effort. Just shows unity within our community. And then I think that in itself becomes a marketing tool of saying, hey, our disc golf community went out and played 50,000 rounds or whatever that number is on that given day. Like under a specific pretense, they went out and banded together as a community, and we played that many rounds of golf on a given day. So even if you're not the biggest fundraiser, there is still an impact that you can have there, which I think is really cool to see. Excuse me. Last year, well, first of all, I love that you guys, moved it up into the year to one of the longest days of summer. So that gives people more opportunity to get more rounds in, and that component, I'm sure that had something to do with it. But then last year, you also had people kind of form teams and or create their own campaigns, and you kind of rewarded them in a way. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so everybody that joins, we have a bonus prize tiers set up for the amount that you raise. So we are publishing this tomorrow, but I can kind of share the quick overview. You raise $100 and you're going to get a Throw for More stamped MVP disc. And so this is going to be one of our first partnerships with MVP. We've been wanting to work with them for a while now, and they jumped on board with this one. And so, that's kind of the lowest tier, and it goes all the way up to 2,500. You raise more than that, and you're going to get one of the Disc Store Grow the Sport baskets, the portable ones that you can use. But it's a championship level basket, and you get that for just raising money. And so the team aspect of it, gather your disc golf club together, make a team. I know Jay Milley and Broderick are going to kind of go rivals and get their followings to join their teams and see which team can make more money between the two of those guys, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then another kind of separate from this, because you can still be on a team, but one new thing we introduced this year is because I think Paul last year on your call said anybody that wants to play for 24 hours, I'll sponsor you. And this year we said, well, let's see how many people actually want to play for 24 hours. So we created what's called last card standing. So when you register, you can say, yeah, I want to do that or not. I mean, not everybody's going to be up to play disc golf for 24 hours. But if you do, anybody that raises $240, plays 240 holes, and plays approximately 24 hours, they're going to have their own kind of prize pack as kind of a finisher. Like I did it. I was a part of last card standing. And it's just a kind of a extra, way to get more unity with people. I know for myself, I'm going to be meeting up with Dustin. We've got a crew in Sarasota. We're going to start at midnight. Then I'm going to come back up to Tampa, get a bunch of my friends up here in Tampa to play, and then finish the night back down in Sarasota playing 24 hours. So I'm hoping that a lot of people get on board. I don't suspect somebody's going to beat Tarmo out of Estonia. He set the record for Throw for More last year with 300 rounds on a 9-hole course in 24 hours, so 2,700 holes. I mean, I know he does this professionally in a way, so he's more skilled and set up for this. I don't think I'm going to be getting 2,700 holes, but I'm setting my number at 500.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he set a pretty high goal or a pretty high standard and bar, but at least we know what can be done. And we'll see if anyone can, get anywhere near that or match it. I know I didn't ask you this ahead of time, so I'm putting you on the spot. But do you probably know total participants and then maybe outside of the U.S. who what country maybe were second and third in terms of participation for this last year?
Yeah, so we had just under 1,300 people register for Throw for More. I think we had, in terms of people that actually donated, it was around 300. Okay. And this year, we're hoping to get near 5,000. So it's a pretty big jump to go from 1,200 to 5,000. And so that's where we need the momentum of, hey, even though this is still 50 days away, please register because people want to do something that other people are doing. And then I did want to point out that last year's goal was to get to just break the record for UDisc, and we came up less than 1,000 rounds short. Once again, in September, there's less daylight. UDisc was still blown away. They're like, we have never had a day in September even come close to this. So they were super excited. But this year, I have put the bar really high. I think the disc golf community can do it, but it's 200,000 rounds. So the previous record's 125, and I think that if we can get everybody involved, that 200,000 rounds is in the realm of possibility, and then we start going for 500,000 in a few years.
Okay, I love it. Is that weekend Father's Day weekend, or is that the weekend after?
It's the weekend after. It is the Saturday of European Open, so I know the pros will be playing at least 18 holes.
Right.
And then maybe they can catch a round or two afterwards, since they'll have daylight until 11:30 p.m. maybe that night. Maybe it doesn't even get dark. I don't know. But they'll have plenty of daylight if they want to get extra rounds in.
Okay, I love it. Anything else that the world needs to know about? You said, are you dropping basically all of the details, website, all that stuff tomorrow, or what is it out there now? What are we looking at?
Yeah, it's out there now. Throwformore.com. Anybody can go sign up to play there. We're putting all the prizes on the website tomorrow, sending out emails and graphics of that. But right now we're just pushing to get, we're a little slower than we expected on the participants. I think people are just waiting to sign up. So we're pushing to get to 250 registrants, which is still far away, far more than we had at this time last year. To get to 250 by next Friday, anybody that signs up between now and then is going to get their hands on the first signed Paul disc from the Dominican Republic. So we'll be giving this away for those that are registered. And then anybody that raises at least $100 by next Friday gets a PMF hat that they'll be able to wear during Throw for More to kind of support it out.
Sweet. And it's funny you just said what you did about the European Open. I'm thinking that's roughly 7, 8, 9 hours ahead of us wherever you are in the U.S. That's roughly 8 hours ahead over in Estonia. So that means you'll be able to watch the golf during the day or watch the golf earlier, and then you'll still have time to go out and play yourself as well. So you don't even have to worry about that conflict, or just go out and watch it all, or excuse me, go out and play all your golf, and then you can watch it on DGN on the recap or save it for next week, whatever. There's going to be options. You're not going to have golf in the middle of the day, so you should definitely get out and just play golf all day here in the U.S.
Yeah. Now, I will say it was pretty fun last year thinking about the timing issue. And people were like, well, when's the 24 hours? Is it Eastern time? And it's actually just 24 hours wherever you live. So at 4 p.m. on Friday last year, I'm like, all right, we're kicking it off. Australia, you're up to bat. And we got to start seeing rounds come in before we went to bed on Friday. And then, after I went to bed on Saturday, there were still rounds being played out in Hawaii and on the West Coast. And it's a really unique and fun thing to be a part of.
Yeah, it also gives me a little of what's coming up soon is the Women's Global event. And it kind of has that, like, just truly that worldwide appeal that everybody for that 24 hours and then some, a little before, a little after, the disc golf community is coming together in a very special way and for another good cause, just like it is, when we're seeing the Women's Global event and what happens there. So I love the creativity that you guys brought about to make this happen. And hopefully we'll see all those goals get crushed this upcoming year.
Yeah. Well, really appreciate it. And if you haven't signed up, throwformore.com.
Throwformore.com. I'm going to put that in the chat. I'll try to remember to put that into the show notes as well. Throwformore.com. And hopefully people can go out there, get themselves all signed up and registered and ready to go. And like you said, maybe you are busy that weekend or doing something in particular that doesn't allow you to go out and necessarily play golf. If you want to just make a donation or get on board, there's ways that you can do that as well. So, but I feel like almost everybody can find time to get 9 holes in to your super short, pitch and putt course somewhere. I feel like there shouldn't be an excuse. I'll be at the European Open. I'll have to play at least 9 over there in Estonia. Yeah.
9 rounds, right?
What's that?
9 rounds, right?
Yes, 9 rounds. And I'm going to get pledged. If I get pledged $1,000 a stroke or a hole, yeah, okay. I'll see what I can do. I'll see what yeah. Or you might just get a flat donation from me, and I'll get 9 holes in. Anyway,
cool.
Zach, it's awesome to have you. And like Johnny said when we opened, every time we have you, we're getting good news about the Macbeth Foundation and about disc golf growing and thriving in another community that's underserved, whether it's international or here in the U.S. And I for one, how I feel in terms of the work that's going on, but the entire disc golf community really appreciates, because this is one of those things, just like when you see UPlay or Edge and everyone says, oh, we need to get it in the hands of schools. And then one of the other things that is always said is, well, this needs to get to all these other countries and we need to see it in more places if we want it in the Olympics or spread around. This needs to be global. And that's exactly what you guys are doing week in and week out. So thank you so much to you and the entire team for making this a reality.
Cool. Well, thanks again for having me on. It was great to share with your audience, and hope you guys have a good rest of the night.
Yeah, next time we have you on, we're gonna go over all the previous Macbeth Foundation courses and where they stand and what's going on with them, because I know a lot of our viewers kind of want to know, like, what's going on months or years later. So I'm excited.
Sure.
I'm excited. We should schedule something like that, Zach.
All right. I don't know if I can do that in 15 minutes though.
That's why we schedule
more time.
Yeah, we give you more time next time, and we just do a whole podcast about it.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. Appreciate it. Take care. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Big thanks to Zach and the whole crew. I mean, a nonprofit that is continuing to push disc golf in all these places. I think far too many people, myself included, didn't realize, undervalued, or just simply didn't realize,
underestimate.
Yeah, the magnitude of what's going on. To coordinate to have the process of these coming in, then to align partners with them, people like MVP or Innova or Discraft or whomever, whatever Ledgestone has, all these different major manufacturers and companies that then are with it. And then to actually go through the logistics of having a set amount of people go there and help, and then work with the local organizing team. It's truly a massive undertaking, and I'm so blessed to have gone to Uruguay a few years ago to be part of one. I look forward to whatever the next one is that I could possibly be in any way helpful to them and to the team. But there's so much more to it, and so. Donate, or just go out and play disc golf, throw for more, whatever the case might be. It's pretty awesome to see. And I was just going to say, Johnny, can you think of other? I don't know how many direct foundations, and I'm sure there are, of course, but I don't know how many other direct foundations specifically kind of go after this market of this course development. I know we just saw Ricky Wysocki through the Ricky Wysocki Foundation has put in a course in Kansas City, which is awesome. I don't know that that's. Oh, there goes my light. I don't know that that's a primary focus and goal of his foundation. But do you know of any other ones?
I mean, does Edge do any? Like.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely them and Uplay definitely trying to.
I know that obviously they're focused on schools. I don't know if they've ever focused on even local install, like 9 holes maybe at a school or something like that. Possible. I mean, I don't know of any other in the sport of disc golf that focus primarily on course building for their nonprofit. I mean, obviously we have nonprofits that help donate to things. I mean, even the PDGA has the Marco Polo Fund. I'm only saying the ones that I know. Wisconsin has has a fund for baskets and such that you can apply for if you're getting a course put in or things like that. But as far as focusing, not even underserved area, just courses in general, I don't know many. I truly don't. Or any. I don't want to say many. I don't know any. Drop the M. I don't know any.
I am, just gone out to, when you go out to the Throw for More, it will then bring you to charity.pledgeit.org, who I think is the underwrites or is the back end specifically for this particular campaign. And right now I see Throw for More, $5,318 raised. Wow. And it has all the information out there as well. So I'm going to put that again in the chat. So to any of our Smashies, if you can, go out there and become part of it in any capacity. Certainly, we approve of that message and of the work that they're doing. We love to see it.
It's good stuff.
All right, Johnny. Good stuff. Thanks to Zach. I really appreciate the updates. And like you said, having him back to kind of give us updates. I mean, they're getting to a point. I remember when we had him on years ago, and we could kind of like quickly run through the 2 or 4 or 6 projects they've completed. Now
they're in the 50s.
At least,
yeah. I almost said the 30s, but then I'm like, no, I think I said the 30s last year or 2 years ago. I'm like, I think they're even higher now. I lose track. Which is all on their great thing
on their site. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and I know they're already working on more, and they get on their newsletter because then they'll send stuff out to you, and you guys can know what's going on there as well. All right, let's move. Let's quickly let's do a little recap.
Some Waco recap.
Waco, a little Waco recap before we head into the Open at Austin, which is where I currently am, is in Austin, Texas, and I've got some stuff from today. But let's quickly recap something else going on in Texas last weekend.
Yeah, we've got the Waco powered by Legit Disc Golf. Innova presents Waco powered by Legit Disc Golf, a DGBT Jomez Pro event. So for those of you that maybe are under a rock and don't know, the Jomez Pro event is a series of, I don't want to say A tiers because it's not, I don't think the tier really matters. It's a series of events that you can get some partial Disc Golf Pro Tour points for, and it's a way for them to fill the off weekends with content for their YouTube channel and put out post-production, old school Jomez style. This weekend, we saw the very first one, which is Waco, an A tier down in Waco, Texas, the Waco Annual Charity Open, which I'm sure they had some charity aspect to it, as they usually do. So I don't know enough, though. So we're going to talk about MPO coming out of, I don't want to say nowhere, but just kind of, you know, making his debut practically this season. Emerson Keith wins this. Emmer Daddy, as he's want to be called. Maybe he doesn't want to be called that, but based on the shirt he was wearing that final round, I think he's okay with Emmer Daddy.
Yeah.
Emerson Keith wins by 2 strokes over Isaac Robinson. Tied Isaac, Paul Kranz, and Evan Scott. Oh, I'm sorry, and Nicolas Antala. So we have a 4-way tie for second at 27 under par. Emerson at 29. In 6th place, Andrew Marweed. A tie for 7th between Joseph Anderson, Joey Buckets, and Mari Vielman. A 3-way tie for 9th between Adam Hammes, Jake Mon, and Chandler Kramer. So that's kind of your who's who of the players that were there. I'm sure if you go down the field, you'll see someone like a Kelvin Heimberg in 13th, Ezra Robinson in 13th. So, you know, Emerson Keith beating out some really big names here in Texas.
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick to that is because of the style of course, it clearly creates drama because it's essentially a birdie fest out there, and so it almost feels like it's funny to see some names like a Kelvin not necessarily even making the top 10, but then looking and seeing like, oh, he was just a couple of strokes out, or, you know, in his case, I guess he was 9. So that was a little more than I realized, but I think wasn't he right there? Oh, okay. He had a bad second round.
Yeah.
But just, you know, the fact that there's a 4-way tie for second, I guess more so backs up my point. Like, you're 1 or 2 strokes away from being on the podium, but you're sitting in 9th or something. It's just lots of birdies to be had out there. So very, very competitive.
Yeah, Waco has always done that for us. It's kind of been the wild card course, one of the wild card courses. And you can go out there at Waco like everyone did in the second round and decide to light it up, shoots 10, 12, 14 under par. But then no one's surprised if you come out with an 8. If 8 or 9 is the hot round, depending on what the weather's like, you know. And I don't want to just put it on the weather because that course can do weird things if you're off by a little bit. You know, you can get if you're on your game, those fairways are wide open. Everything is right there available for you, but you can easily come up with, you know, a couple 5s on that course out of nowhere. You're just like, holy crap, how did I rack up 2 or 3 5s and not even see it coming? So that was that's kind of your MPO. Emerson Keith, again, he's played a few events this year, mostly down in Texas. And let me just rattle some off for you. He took a 5th, a first, second, first, fourth, first, second, first. I'd say that's a pretty good season so far. Like, I know he's not hitting DGPT stuff yet. He's, as we know, he's Emmer Daddy, so he's probably staying closer to home these days. But, you know, we're going to see him this week at the Open at Austin. Is it going to shock me if he takes a top 5? Not really.
No. Well, I mean,
he's a great golfer. He just hasn't played a lot this year in the big screen.
Yeah, and clearly he's reprioritized where he's playing, what he's doing, not being on the tour full time like he has been for years. I mean, if you look at it this way, he's played in 14 events. Before last weekend, he played in 14 events, winning all but winning roughly 10 of them, but played in 14 events and he's won $5,100. Then goes to this tournament, wins it, and wins what, $3,000?
Yeah.
So of course that's not quite doubling, but not too shabby for a single weekend of playing this larger scale event compared to what he has been playing. So cool to see. News is he just got into this weekend because I believe there was a drop. And so he wasn't technically otherwise going to be in this weekend's event here in Austin, but now is apparently in. And that's what I think I overheard post press conference today. So we will see him. And I think that's a pretty funny story, for a guy who's won on the Pro Tour before. To see him now is pretty cool. So looking forward to it. And I'd be willing to bet if you went to the right Austin establishment, you'd probably find him playing pool somewhere right now. If I know Emmer Daddy and his nightly routines, he's out there playing pool somewhere. So anyway, congrats to him.
Over on the FPO side, Owen Scoggins handily takes this one. There wasn't much of a competition here. She came out of round one and she was at 2 under. And round one was a rough start. It was windy.
Right.
The weather wasn't great.
Rainy.
Rainy. She shot a 2 under par. The course, by the way, just pushing it back these few weeks, it makes it look green and lush. It looks as good as maybe you've ever seen it. So if you haven't watched the Jomez coverage, go peek in on how that course looks. You almost won't recognize it from the Waco that we had seen in the past. Just this few weeks difference. But yeah, so she shot a 2 under par, which was 1,009 rated. But when you compare that to the other rounds where she shot, the next round where she shot 10 under par and it was 1,015. So the gulf statistically wasn't much different, but the score was.
Mm-hmm.
So Owen Scoggins comes out with, she shot an 8 under par. She was 10 total. So her 8 under tied Rebecca Cox's 8 under for the hot round. Silva Sarnen came out of round one and just laid an egg, shot 2 over par. She was kind of probably predicted to be up in, first, second, third place, but she has an issue playing in some of these nastier conditions. I don't know if it's just a physical thing with the way she throws or it's mental, but it feels like when the weather goes sour, Silva doesn't perform as well. So it's something you can look at. I know this weekend, if you're making picks or whatever, as we'll get into a little bit, Friday and Saturday might not be looking so hot. So we'll kind of have to keep an eye on that. But again, second round.
Did you just start a new nickname? Silva Sowerson?
No, I did not. Nope, did not.
Okay.
Nope, that was not me.
Okay.
But so second round, Silva ended up shooting a 6 under to shoot herself up. She kind of started to crawl her way back up to the top. By the third round, though, Owen had it under control. She shot a 3 under par. Alexis Mondahano shot up the leaderboard by 8 spots by shooting a 9 under par to get to a tie for second place with Lisa Fakis. And the name that we keep talking about week after week after week, Cynthia Kletzberger. She takes tied for second with the other 2. And she's just one of those names that we just keep repeating. We've been talking about her for the last 6 weeks, it feels like, maybe even longer, maybe 8 weeks. And she's continuing to play well. So I don't know what there is to say other than congratulations, Owen Scoggins. And this is, Silva jumped her way. She got herself back up to 5th place. So that is something to be said about how she can fight back even after a terrible first round. But again, keep an eye on that those issues with Silva and the weather. So
Johnny V forecast / insight.
So that's kind of your Waco event. A tier payout was what it was. It covered the A tier minimum. I don't know if I haven't heard anything online from players that had any issues with the tournament in general. We know that the guys down there and the crew, I don't say the guys, the crew down there puts on a phenomenal show. I think that I'm not sure. I mean, it's such a fun event overall, and I think that it's going to get overlooked a little bit this week because it's not a pro tour stop.
Yeah, I mean, it
so, maybe rightfully so.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it's an A tier that we've seen on the tour. And I guess I think the big conversation that started last week was a lot of the, in the polite term, I'll say ignorance and or confusion and frustration, or those two things that led to the frustration of so many people bark not having it as a live event. Mm-hmm. And I understand that things were sent out months ago. There's been websites, there's been articles, there's been podcasts, everything except for like holding your hand and walking you over to the internet has been done. And even that's probably been done. But there were still a lot of people that come Friday were just losing their mind because this wasn't broadcast live on the Disc Golf Network. And I don't know if I have an overall response other than like,
pay attention.
Check one of the 1,000 other spots where it's been talked about or written about. Is it confusing that one year it's on the tour, or for many years it's on the tour and now it's not? Yes, but it's not like it was a secret that just got switched up 2 weeks ago.
I mean, no different than the Memorial.
What happened? It got demoted.
Memorial, Vegas, all these events, Beaver State, every once in a while, drops off the tour, as we see, and everything once in a while it pops back up on the tour, things like that. Like these things, people need to understand and get used to the fact that the tour is going to change every year. We're not going to keep the same courses over and over and over in events. Some events don't want to be every year because it is difficult to fundraise that much money and get sponsorship that much money every single year. So maybe it's better that some of these events dip in and out. Would it shock me? And I love Kansas City. It was a great course, phenomenal. But would it shock me if it dropped off the tour for a year? No. And then we get something else. If we don't get the Open at Austin, and one year we get the Texas State Championships again, who knows? Depends on the course and where it's at. Open at Austin could come and go. The only ones that I feel like these days that are like an absolute lock is like Olympus, MVP, and then GMC when it's not running a major. Like other than that, I think almost every other, maybe Ledgestone as well, because that seems to be pretty reliable. But I think every other event could or can drop off the tour for a year and could be replaced with something else. So
yeah, and I'm not predicting this happening anytime soon, but for the longest time when Kansas City was serious about getting featured on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, I think there was at least conversation with some people about, every couple of years, could we rotate from going KC Wide Open and then having the Glass Blown Open or Dynamic Disc, whatever. So you're still in that area, but you're going to a different event. You're going to a different tiered event. And so, again, I'm not saying this is still in the conversation, but it wouldn't surprise me if we had a Glass Blown Open type event in Emporia for a year or two, while the Kansas City Wide Open was just an A tier or vice versa.
Yeah, so I'd love to see that. And when we can dip into it in a little bit when we talk about the Open at Austin, but I will be curious to see what type of spectators show up to the Open at Austin. I don't know. Obviously, we're not privy to any of the sales tickets.
Oh, I am, though. I am.
Are you? You are? Because I was going to say, Waco every year, there are, like, the Joe Mez coverage showed there were people there. Like, Waco, like it or not, is a spectator-friendly place. Like, and not just the course, but the fact that spectators actually show up is great. Right. So the fact that the Open at Austin now are, Terry, fill me in. I guess we'll dive right into that real quick before we get into we've got a couple other events we can go to, but since we're talking about it, what do you have for spectator numbers, Terry?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to Jeff Spring over at the course right before the show started, And he was saying that they're on pace and have actually basically met their ticketing goal number for here this weekend.
That
And
doesn't that doesn't say much to me though. Like,
I mean, I think I don't think they set the bar low intentionally on their ticket goals, but I want to say 3,000.
okay.
And I did kind of tiptoe around this, not tiptoe, but I did talk about it a little bit during the press conference today, which I know you were glued to. But
I heard there were issues with the broadcast at first, and like people were having issues with DGN. I did not, Terry. I was not glued to it. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, at any rate, one of the few questions I had for Jeff was just ticketing. And then later I clarified tonight with him. And I think he said that they're at roughly 3,000 ticket sales.
Okay.
And then we were contemplating, he was more so than me, as to if this is going to be one of the larger ticketed items of the year.
That's great.
Obviously, Worlds is on pace to supersede that, but this may be one of the larger ticketed. He thinks Portland may get there or surpass it, and then Maple Hill, obviously, at a certain point, Maple Hill is going to be at capacity, just due to the overall, some of the limitations of that.
I don't know, man. Steve Dodge comes up with ways. If that guy has
up with another dimension, I was
about to say he might rent out a blimp, and just float people around. I know
at one point he was talking about building like a sky walkway on the 18th or some skyway on the 18th that might be able to get more people to in there to watch. But anyway, point is, Jeff's really confident that this is going to be and is shaping out to be one of the larger, spectator bases. And then obviously that goes hand in hand with just Austin being such an incredible city. So much fun here, so many things going on. And then just the disc golf itself is already huge. And these are all the reasons why we're here in the first place, right? So none of this is a surprise. You've got a thriving disc golf community. This has been now built up into a 4-day event, largely because we've got the 2 courses. There's the opportunity to raise then more money, and you've got viewers that kind of make it worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was just a little worried in general about the fact that Waco is about halfway between Dallas and Austin, roughly. Like, would Waco have cannibalized some of Austin? Because I can go see Waco for free. I'll walk up and
there were still tickets, but they were very heavily discounted.
And Austin, obviously, I need to pay more for that. So I was worried that maybe Waco would eat into some of Austin's viewership or spectatorship. But if that's not going to be the case, that's great. And here's what I'll say. I know I've heard from other places that people are like, just you can't saturate an area. I don't know if you can saturate Texas.
Exactly.
Like even Houston, you go down to Houston, people are going to show up. Austin and Houston are 2 hours away, and I think you could get decent viewership at both of them. Texas is a hotbed, quite literally, of disc golf. It's they show out, man.
Right. So, yeah, and as Ed said, I mean, Waco has had good turnouts for people, and it is fun to be at. But there are some spectating limitations through a number of those wooded holes, unless you're, part of the very few VIP people. And I know that's becoming kind of more and more of a consideration on a lot of our wooded courses, which is we can get a bunch of people there and around it. And then maybe our most exclusive VIP offerings are the ones that actually bring you through the fairways. But people really like how spectator-friendly Sprinkle and more, I think even more so, the Harvey Penick is. Yeah. And so that kind of leads to the next point Jeff drove home during the press conference today, which is over at Harvey Penick, you have better viewing and sight lines for when they anticipate the largest crowd, which is on the weekend, which is exactly why we're going to see 2 rounds at Sprinkle Valley back-to-back on Thursday, Friday, and then the 2 rounds over at Harvey Penick on the weekend. And that is largely just driven by, the spectator experience being out there. I will go as far as saying, now that I've been to Harvey Penick and saw it yesterday for my first time in person, the Austin Beer Works and what they have going on at Sprinkle is slightly more conducive, I think, to an overall fan experience, and I think it's going to be incredible for the next 2 days. I just think there's a limitation in terms of this, just the overall spectators. There's more limitations versus Harvey Penick and just the way that course is designed and laid out. So, but being at the Austin Beer Works, being at Sprinkle, it's Nate Perkins said it to me today when we were there. He's like, this is where I wish all of our events were. They all felt like this. You have not just the brewery, but then you have the food carts. There's a huge section in an area where kids can be playing in like what they call the tree house, and a lot of different games and areas there. There's ventions. There's there's a store on site along with all the other food carts that I just talked about. So there's just a lot of things that are offered here at Sprinkle that I really do like. And in a big picture, yeah, I think we'd love to have all of our events have venues like this. That's just currently not the reality. When you compare it to going out to, some places that just feel like, Eureka, you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and they build it up and bring a lot of stuff in for the weekend. But the year-round infrastructure is not at Eureka where it is here at Sprinkle Valley. So just a little comparison, but yeah, it's going to be pretty cool to see. So they're expecting big numbers of spectators, and we'll see how everyone turns out this weekend.
All right, we'll get back to the Open in Austin real quick because I've got some questions for you about that, but we're going to go over some other results this weekend. Out in Estacada, Oregon, the 2026 Beaver State Fling.
What? BSF?
The BSF, that's right. Drew Gibson taking this one in dramatic fashion. He was in a playoff with Timothy Tenkley. I believe that is
Charlemagne.
Right. What? No, it's Tenkley. Tenkley. Okay. It just threw me because the K is capitalized. So, in the PDGA, so I was like, is that right? So, congratulations to Drew on winning that one. Third place, Jason Lawson. Fourth place, Sam Schneider. And tied with Scott Withers over on the FPO side. A name we haven't mentioned in I feel like 2 years. Sayananda wins, shooting 12 under par. Her round ratings were 969, 955, and 981. She took home $612. Congratulations to Cy. Second place, Zoe Andike, shooting 5 under par. Third place, Amy Lewis at 3 over par. Those are your top 3 in FPO. That's kind of all I got with that. I think you can catch this out on Central Coast if you're interested. They're usually covering the Beaver State if it's not a Pro Tour event. So go check out that coverage when you get a moment. We're going to move all the way across the country over to Central. The city is called Central, South Carolina, United States. This is the Huck Central. Winning the Huck Central was Braden Sides, shooting 27 under par in a playoff with Nathan Queen. So Nathan Queen takes second. Third place, Shane McCullen. Fourth place, Harper Thompson. And fifth place, in all capital letters, Zach Peters. Zach, I don't know why you can get away with all capital letters, but okay, I'll let that one slide. There was no FPO field, so we're going to just kind of scoot along with that. And finally, our last event, we're going to go across the Atlantic over to, and I know I'm going to massacre this, but Västervik, Sweden. Västervik, Sweden. Either way, this was an A tier. This is the Västervik Open 2026, sponsored by Prodigy Discs. Winning this one was Dennis Augustusson. Second place, Hjalte Jensen. Third place, Mayo Hamanilin. That one I'm not going to get. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mayo. M-I-I-O. I don't think my native tongue or my lips or my tongue will make those noises. So congratulations to PDJ number 201845. Congratulations. Over on the FPO, we see that Julia Force wins that, shooting 14 under. Is it Julia or is it Julia?
I have never spoken to her.
Okay. I just know that the J's are always yas, and so like you got like Jesper, and so it's weird. I would think it'd be Julia, but that I don't know. So anyway, and then we've got right underneath of that Josephine Johansson in second place, and Olivia Kinstead in third place, tied with Matilda Ringborn. So there.
Sweet.
I have now I have done my duty and massacred some wonderful Swedish names or Finnish names or whatever country they happen to be in. They just happen to be in Sweden this week, but this PDGA site doesn't show me what country they're in. So wherever you are, maybe you're Finnish, maybe you're Swedish, maybe you're Estonian. I don't know, but congratulations, I massacred your name.
You did great.
Did I?
Good enough. Better than my attempt that I'm not going to make. So.
Not usually. Usually you're pretty good with that.
Yes.
So this weekend, we've got the Open at Austin. Terry, you are down there. You and I talked last week privately. I'm going to bring up some of our private conversations here.
You're talking about my privates again?
I am. Did you get the cream? Okay. Anyway, you said that it's possible you're not going to be doing in the booth for both rounds. There was some talks last week. You weren't sure where it stood.
Right.
You were going to be, originally you were scheduled to do FPO with Des and then MPO with Philo.
Right.
But there was some possible, I heard Nate Perkins was firing for your job.
Yeah. No, you heard that I got fired from the Pro 10.
That was early. That's old news, Terry.
For the third time?
They flew you to Austin to tell you in person. Terry, we needed to tell you in person.
They're like, we thought we'd bring you down for Cinco de Mayo, enjoy a taco here down in Texas and all that, but then you're fired. No, it was, last week, I think as recently as on the show a week ago or on Tuesday, I had, given the game plan of what I believed was the case. However, I was called and I was asked if what I thought about the idea, rather than me talking all day, which sounds like their polite way of saying you talk too much. They had asked, they being the Pro Tour, had said, hey, how would you feel about doing on course in the morning with FPO and then doing in the booth in the afternoon with Philo? And I thought to myself, and I said it out loud, I'm like, I don't know why I wouldn't mind doing that, or I don't see any real downside to it. Selfishly, outside of like the idea of getting maybe hot and sweaty and then having to then go sitting in the booth. But I guess either way, I'm going to be hot and sweaty if it's humid out. So I said, sure. And then they did say, well, would you, or even the reverse, you're in the booth in the morning and out on the course in the afternoon. And I said that would work too. But they said, well, how about we have Perkins go in the booth in the morning and be the host, which he's done a couple of times, we know, but I think they're also trying to have plenty of opportunities to have him, quote unquote, get reps in doing that as well. But have Perkins in the booth with Des and then me in the booth with Philo. And so Perkins and I will basically be switching roles, at lunchtime every day. And that of course, I agreed to it because there's very few things, maybe to a fault. There's very few things I feel like in the last 11 years when the Pro Tour has asked, have I said no? And so I was amendable to it. Amendable? What's the word? I don't know. That's why I talk for a living. Anyway, I was agreeable to it. And here we are. So that's going to be the plan. Of course, I'm looking forward to it. I enjoy both roles.
My only disappointment, Terry, is that I think you would be so good with Des.
Hmm.
I like
Yeah.
I not that
Perkins
Perkins
will
is
be good with her.
not that Perkins is going to be bad by any means. He's proven that he can hold the show down.
Mhm.
I don't think you've ever done a commentating with Des, and I was looking forward to seeing that. I think you've done stuff with Philo. It's been a long time,
Right.
but I was looking forward to you and Des because you guys have such a long relationship that we've known her. I mean, we've known everybody for like 50 years, but you know that type of rapport I think could be really fun. That being said, it's also great to have you on the course. It's great to have Perks in the booth. It's great to have Philo back. Like I
Right.
don't want to play favorites for anybody, but I was looking forward to that combo particularly to see how it meshed, to see how long did it take before she stormed out.
Right. Versus you idiot. No, I agree. I also was looking forward to it, largely because that's the way it was originally presented to me. So I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. But I'm also fine with this as well. She'll, her and I'll be listening to her and Perkins throughout the day, obviously, and then whenever I get called on, be able to interject. As of right now, I don't know if my original quote unquote assignment will remain the same in OTB. OTB again, I am supposed to be in the booth for both Des and then Philo, but they may switch that up again too or something. I really don't know. I'm not too worried about it 2 weeks from now, but yeah, I agree. It would have been fun, but I'm guessing there at some point will be some opportunity when something like that comes along for her and I to work together. As you said, we've known Jay and Des now since like 1999, I think is when they first came to Wisconsin to play in some tournaments that were being held there. And either one I ran or ones that were being run over in Madison area. So long history with both of them, with Jay and Des. And at some point, maybe it'll work that, I'm going to be with them. So, or with at least Des. So Philo arrived today and he got in just after the press conference. And then Philo and I actually walked the back nine together because I just got done walking the front nine with ultimately with AB, Hamas, and Yuli, who happened to be walking out right as I was about to. They were going to go play, so I just tagged along and shot creepy pictures of them that I can sell. But outside of that, it was great to have, or in addition to that, it was great to have Philo and I go out and just kind of walk and catch up a little bit. I mean, Philo and I, of course, I feel like sometimes we see each other in other countries more than we do in the U.S., which is honestly like also kind of a special bond that, in Croatia for the same event. We've been in Taiwan for the same event. We've been in Thailand like 6 times for the same event. So it's funny that we see each other. And I think the last time we worked together, we were maybe covering a Norway event when we were both in Milwaukee. So it's going to be fun. I haven't worked with Philo in quite some time in terms of us both doing live commentary. Nicholas Antala was excited about it when we walked up on his group and he was asking what Philo's role was. And Philo said he's in the booth. And then he said, with this guy, meaning me. And he's like, oh, I can't wait. So whatever. And of course, I think there's so many incredible announcers that I'm always flattered if anyone says they like me or I'm their favorite, but I know that everybody has their favorites and everybody likes everybody, in varying degrees. And I'll take it wherever I can get it. So I'm good for it. So it should be fun. But that's the plan. Now the real question is now that if we're going to get nitty gritty, the real question is if we have inclement weather, do I hope that it's in the afternoons when I'm inside?
Well, yeah. I mean,
and not out in the.
You can apologize to Perk, but yes, I'm sure Perk is hoping the exact opposite, and there should be no feeling bad about it. The weather forecast looks good on Thursday.
Okay.
Bad on Friday and Saturday with possible thunderstorms, and what I saw was anywhere from 15 to like 30 to 40% chance of rain most of the day. It kind of up and down, and that was Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday looks to be nice.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I feel like this is changing every minute because I looked at weather 3 or 4 days ago when I was starting to pack. And I'm like, great, it's going to be 88 and sunny or 88
Well,
and hot and muggy every day.
it's weather.
And
Yeah.
then I
Yeah,
arrive
I think you look at the wrong
and
weathers places.
that's it. That's right. Well, I usually just read the almanac.
Oh, the Farmer's
That's
Almanac.
like
That's
that's what I
good.
look at.
That's yes,
Yeah, it's
yes.
from the farmers. So I just read that, and that's where I get all my info from. And everybody just keeps talking about the weather one way or another. And I said to a gentleman as we were standing there after the pro-am today, and he brought up weather. He's local to around here, and he brought up weather. And I said, you know what? The mentality that I go with for the last 5 years has been, I'll believe the weather when I'm in it,
Yeah.
because we're certainly at a point of just you never know.
Yeah,
So
it's not supposed to be windy, and I'm looking now, and they're saying thunderstorms again still on Friday with anywhere from a 20 to 30% chance of rain basically throughout the day. So I bet you're going to get hit with some showers here and there. Hopefully the lightning holds off. Saturday morning looks like it's going to get hit as far as, and this might just be early morning because by about 10 o'clock it looks like it's mostly gone. And then Sunday, maybe a shower, a little bit, like maybe a little sprinkle shower, not at Sprinkle Valley though. So
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll say this: I'm fairly confident some rain is going to happen during the rounds. Just depends on when and where. It's gonna push forward. It's gonna push backward. Something's going to happen. Just yeah.
We will see, because even since arriving yesterday, I've heard 2 or 3 different forecasts for the weekend.
Well,
So
they're wrong. Listen to me.
okay, yes,
I'm basically a weatherman.
yeah, you and Seth Muncie.
I get confused with a lot of people confuse me and Al Roker. It just happens.
Right, understandably.
Walking down the street, they're like, Al! I'm like, nope, not Al Roker.
Especially you, yeah, especially the Al Roker of 10 years ago, the heavier version of Al,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah. Is there a different one? I don't know.
Yeah, he
I know he
I don't know if
skinnied
it
up
was-
quite a bit.
Yeah, but was it the surgery, or did he just lose a bunch of weight? Either way, very impressively, he has lost
Either way.
a lot of weight.
I don't care.
At any rate, yeah. So we'll see. That was my first lap around Harvey Penick yesterday. I actually walked it pretty much with Ben Holding, who's out of the UK. Walked it with him as he was trying to rip through. As he said, he goes, we got to the end of the 18 holes, and he goes, that was definitely the most groups I've ever played through in my life, because we were just like ripping through group after group after. I mean, understandably, he was a single, throwing person, and then coming up on mostly threesomes and foursomes, as people were just out practicing, and we just kind of Disc Golf Pro Tour was kind of having their Tuesday like tag round or their Tuesday round afterwards, and then there was obviously other golfers out there. Other tournament golfers, and they were all in groups of like 3, 4, or 5, and so we just kept awkwardly kind of running right through them. But got to see the course, and excited to see how the weekend plays out there. A lot of real quick, and I'll say this probably quite a bit throughout the weekend, but the overall overwhelming consensus is that people really like these 2 courses. And I'm not saying that in a surprising fashion, but kind of only because I'm just used to hearing like people kind of really pick things apart and have their frustrations. And
There will be some.
Either that, or either that's the case, or just I haven't run into anyone that has shared an otherwise opinion with me, because there's a lot of people that really enjoy these 2 courses. So I think that's really exciting anytime you go to an event, just because sometimes it feels like a lot of the pre-event chatter is based around, I didn't like this hole, or I don't like these holes, or this section of the course, or I don't like this course at all. I haven't heard any of that. So I think that's going to be kind of exciting as well.
I mean, everybody knows Sprinkle Valley, the big talk is hole 18. Everybody pretty much liked that course, with the exception of hole 18 last year. it destroyed people. Or was it 2 years ago? Either way,
Well, yeah, the last 2 years, yeah.
yeah, it literally made Kristen Lott cry. Like,
Right.
That's it was a very, very difficult hole. And they changed it this year. It's significantly easier. Well, the hole isn't easier,
Right.
but the strokes will be easier because they took that section between the two mounds that was all OB and they changed it to hazard. So now you can progress up that fairway with a penalty, more or less. So you're not stuck rethrowing multiple shots, which I'll say is good and bad. I think it's bad in that I personally don't like the change. I think there were some other options that could have happened. I think it's good that it's not going to cause backups like it did last year. Like, that is a huge, significant improvement, that you won't have people waiting as much on that second throw for the people still trying to get to the green because they're taking 3-4 attempts at getting onto the green. So from that perspective, I think it's a good change. I don't love the change for MPO personally. I think something had to change with FPO. I don't know. It's just, if you watched, I watched the Goose and Ezra practice round. I watched Ezra throw a hyzer to a specific spot and then just threw a bomb hyzer and landed OB long, which then you get to take it into the hazard with no additional penalty. You still get the one penalty stroke. And he pitched up. He had a birdie putt for like 80 feet from the hazard, and then laid up. He was able to just lay up and put it in for par. Like, it kind of breaks the hole a little bit. Now, I don't know how realistic that is for most pros, or if that's just a placement, if that's going to be a 10% shot where only 10% of the field can make that hyzer throw. A lot of it depends on your first throw and if you get far enough up the fairway, if you're going to try to fight through the trees, things like that. But I was also a defender of the hole the previous years. I think that it was a very difficult hole that I don't think people played correctly in order to optimize their score, that they fought through in places that they probably shouldn't have, and could have played a little bit more placement golf, in my opinion. But
yeah, well, what I'll say to that quickly is that you're right. Everybody said this is going to move the pace up.
Yes,
which is clearly you think, well, who cares? It's their last hole. Well, the problem is some people were getting there and waiting, 20, 30, 40 minutes to play their last hole, which then on top of it was a very demanding set of shots. Mm-hmm. So it definitely will improve the pace. And one of the lines, or the sentiment, I should say, that I took out of the presser today when asked about 18 was just more or less the idea of like, hey, we listened and we're trying something new.
Yeah, I'm good.
This may not still be the final ruling and or way that they do it, but obviously they knew that a change was necessary, or felt that a change was necessary. So the fact that they were willing to do that and try yet another version, I think should be recognized and commended.
I agree. So, I agree, and I think the one thing that I agree with, one of the things I agree with Goose on, is when he mentioned it, because I thought the exact same thing, was that when he approached, he's like, there's really like, you can approach, come up short, you take a penalty stroke, or I can throw it long and not even hit the fairway and take the penalty stroke, or I can land it on the green deep and I still pitch up and take that same stroke. He's like, it's going to compress everything. And I was thinking about it personally, and I would have loved to see it almost reversed, in that they kept the OB before the basket and they made everything after the basket hazard. Go ahead and blast past it. Or if you're going to keep it the way it is, move the basket to the back of the green, so that you can't just do that. Like, adjust. There are things that they can do, and I love that they're trying. This is just, obviously, I've never played it. I haven't been there. These are just things I'm looking at from tape. They are going to make a decision and a determination that is best for them. I respect any and all changes that they make. I think they're, you could look at anything and say, well, I think it could be better, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not above admitting that.
Yeah, and Ed asked on the board, was the change a PDGA requirement? I would be willing to bet it was not. I bet you specifically, and I'll say I'm guessing, but I'd still bet on it, that it was a conversation that the Pro Tour and the event staff, the rest of the event staff, local staff, had a conversation about it. I don't think the PDGA specifically stepped in and said, "Hey, we need to change this." This again, that's just a guess. I don't think that they said we need to, but I'm sure after seeing all the numbers, Jeff Spring as the tournament director, Greg Diaz, the assistant tournament director, Zach Jensen, the previous tournament director of the U.S. Women's and the owner of Mint, I'm sure just all got together and had a powwow of sorts and had that conversation as to what changes could be attempted and made. But I am guessing the PDGA did not call up and say, "Hey, change this hole," or we're going to have a problem.
I think the change was from public pressure based on the scores that were coming out.
Sure.
And that's okay. Right. Like, there are times that caving to
right.
the public pressure is okay when the average, when the par is like 3 strokes or average score is 3 strokes over
right.
par, something has to be done. Yeah, and as we said, the pace of play alone is a reason to change it. Like, again, if you could find a way to speed up the pace of play and keep that same harsh section, personally, I'd be like, meh, I don't care. Fight through it. Learn to pitch out to the middle. If you're not dead center, throw it 15 feet to your right so you have that gap lined up. Okay, but you can't stall play like that for 45 minutes when a group gets up there. It just can't happen. Like, it's unacceptable. It needed to change. So I'm glad they've done something.
Right. Well, we'll see. Yeah. I think Zach said that during the Monday qualifying, it still averaged more than a stroke over par. So it clearly is still going to play tough. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. It's just, you're going to see less, 8s, 9s, and 10s on the whole. Although Raven Klein, I think I've quoted her as something along the lines of, "Oh, you're still going to see a 10, but there's not going to be a bunch of them," or something like that. Clearly, it's still a very difficult hole. I mean, you can go out of bounds off the tee, go out of bounds on your second shot. I mean, you can go out of bounds with almost every shot you throw there. So somebody that's struggling is still going to have a high score, but that's not going to be the overwhelming majority.
I don't think you're going to see a 10.
Oh, okay. Should we bet on it?
I think
should I do a proxy bet on Raven's behalf for her? She'd probably bet like a coloring book.
I would take the under on a 10. If you were to tell me 10, I think that the worst score you'll see is a 9, maybe even an 8, but probably there would probably be a 9 in there. Someone that's just, whatever. But I don't think you're going to see a 10.
All right, you and I will bet, and I hate to do this because that means I'm rooting for it, but you and I will bet a beverage, an adult beverage, that I will say a 10 or worse will be carded
in the FPO field, right? Because I don't think you're going to see any 10s in the MPO. I don't.
Well, then while we're at it, just give me MPO as well.
Okay, you can have MPO. Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's a virtual bet for all of our Smashies to know, and we'll check back next Tuesday.
Yep. Chat, make sure to remind us to see if we see any 10s or worse on that card. I don't want to say just 10. 10s or 10 or worse.
10s or worse. Real quick, I'll just throw it out there that there's at least a chance that we may be on this same schedule 2 weeks from tonight. Okay. And I say that because OTB Open, very similar. The event is Thursday through Sunday. That means we'll have a press conference on Wednesday. I think I'm traveling out there on Tuesday. Again, I could be there Tuesday night and be on the show. I just feel like I'll have far more insight if we do the show on the night before the tournament. After the press conferences happen, after I've been on the course, after I've talked to players, maybe there's a slight chance we could have a player join, especially with how early that's going to be for me. But we'll also have to double check with Zoe. I know the fundraising and the strokes painting thing is going to be going on that week. So I have a few details to work out, but for once, maybe we can actually warn or adjust ahead of time that the podcast just before OTB Open may in fact be like tonight and take place on Wednesday. I guess that would be the 20th if I'm jumping ahead 2 weeks. So just throwing that out there now, which is a week and 6 days more heads up than we normally have given. So
I did just look, Terry, because I wanted to take a look here at the Monday qualifier. There were 2 10s in the MPO field.
Okay.
One was Nathan Tucker, who's a 977 rated player. Calling you out, Nathan. Mm-hmm. The other was Mitchell Dillenbach, who's a 954 rated player. He as well took a 10 on the final hole.
Did either of them make it into the tournament? Because if they made it into the tournament, I like my chances.
No, they did not. If you take a 10, you don't make it into the tournament. I think there were only 4 players that made it into the tournament. So,
okay. Well.
Ha! There's 2 less chances for you, Terry Miller. And there was no FPO for the qualifier. It looked like so.
Okay. Speaking of FPO, real quick, 2 of the kindest, most gracious hearts on the planet in the FPO division to ever grace the division. Combined total, they have 4 world titles. And I think the number's like 16 or 15 majors, 14, 15, 16 majors between the 2 of them. Happy birthday to both of them. Of course, I'm talking about Madison Walker.
Yeah.
And Valerie Jenkins.
Yes.
So happy birthday to both.
I knew one of them was Val, and I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't remember that. I couldn't remember Madison, so.
Yes, so I know they're both celebrating a birthday today. Val and Nate, along with their son Luca, are in Hawaii and celebrating. Val is turning 40. I know it's tough for you all to believe, but
I don't believe it.
She is turning 40, and her and Nate had a conversation about where to go and what to do. That was a little extra special. They got engaged in Hawaii all those years ago. And so they ended up going to Hawaii and are doing some camping, some van camping while they're there. I don't know how they drove their van to Hawaii, but anyway, they're doing some van camping and hanging out there with their son, Luca. So happy birthday to them. And then, like I said, happy birthday. Happy birthday to everyone else in the last week or two and anyone else I don't mention, but specifically tonight it is, or today, it's the birthday of Val and Madison. So wanted to get that in there.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I think that's about it. The only other conversation that I had that I won't drag out or maybe even beat the dead horse of now, in my opinion, and he doesn't necessarily even think it is, but I did have a lengthy conversation with one Seth Muncy today.
Oh.
And Seth Muncy, besides all the other many roles and things he does now with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Seth Muncy was one of the primary heads, brains in the weather call in Kansas City. And that's his job as part of like health and safety of the overall tour. And again, and it was really interesting because the conversation was me, Seth, and Cole Radalin. And it was, what a pun, enlightening. Very enlightening to just hear more from Seth and to hear about, and it's so funny because of all the things you and I just said about weather coming up, maybe or maybe not here in Austin this weekend, but to hear who he talked to, the amount of people they talked to, the amount of check-ins they had with professional meteorologists, the one of which is like semi on staff or contracted with the Pro Tour, the other services that he talks to, throughout that week. The things that were going on in Kansas City and in that area that day, forecast, and that weekend and that night. I can't say it enough. So many more moving parts and people and brains than I think anyone else really realizes. It's not one guy, tens of thousands of miles away that's just like, I don't know, looks like Cole's leading. Why don't you call it? I mean, it's just, unfortunately, some people think it was really that short-sighted or that flippant of a call, and clearly it was not. But I said to Seth that if he was around tonight and wanted to pop in and give us the full story, he could. And I think he's busy doing other stuff. But and I also said to him, I said, there's probably a line of like you explaining yourself and trying to get other people to truly understand it. There's a line there between that and then just kind of beating the dead horse that, hey, there's more to it than you guys understand. But he does like the idea of the awareness being out there. And I think things like Ricky and a few others that say, hey, the Royals played tonight, and we saw some of those posts. I think, unfortunately, kind of take a jab at like Seth and the work that him and some of the other people were doing. And you got to wonder, is that a problem? Is that a public image problem? I know that's very different, but you get fined or get in trouble if you're a coach and you openly like rip on a ref after the game in a lot of professional sports, or if you're an athlete. And I don't know where those lines all are in terms of disparaging remarks, but I guess both Gannon and Ricky both at some point had a call to Seth after the tournament. And I know they were just looking for clarifications at that point. But I guess my whole point is this is not a decision taken lightly or something that's flippant. And at the end of the day, Seth Muncy and the rest of the Pro Tour are responsible for the safety, or could be held responsible at least for the safety of the players, for the camera crew, the operations team, volunteers, the people at the tournament. Like, all of that is on their head and or on their shoulders. And I just feel naturally the internet outrage doesn't necessarily take into account all of those things. And maybe a lot of people are just ignorant in not knowing those things. They're just lacking knowledge in some of those areas. But there's so much more than I think so many people think about. And I said it before, whether it was last week here or somewhere else, there is nothing to gain by the Pro Tour or PDGA or anyone of the sorts being like, oh, hey, let's close this thing down early. Let's shut it down a couple hours early before it's done. Yeah. Because the brand is going to take a hit on that every single time, no matter how smart it is or isn't perceived. The brand is always going to take a hit on that, and have damage control to deal with. And so to think they would ever intentionally have any malicious reason to not have the safety as the forefront of the decision, I think is just again, it's short-sighted. So that's my spiel. I guess with a little bit more conviction than I even said probably the same thing last week. It's just, yeah. So, and Seth even says, he's like, I feel terrible we have to make this call. He's like, I personally hate it as well. I mean, his life has been in sports and working with sporting teams and organizations. So of course, even he puts his head down on his pillow at night and thinks, man, that sucks. I had to make that call. We had to shut the event down early. Like, he's not happy either that he has to make it, but he knows it's the prudent thing to do. So I don't know. So wait weekend and everybody can get mad again.
Yeah.
And we have to shut down.
Let's change the subject. The last thing we'll talk about real quick, and this is, there's not a lot to comment on this, I don't think, but Nate Heinold made an official post saying that he was going to be, it says, he's not going to be running for the board of directors again, even though he is eligible. He could run for another 3-year term, but he has chosen to not run during the next election. Speaking of which, check your spam filter. That's where the elections things sometimes like to sneak. Vote, 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 or shut up. One or the other. So vote, preferably. That's the one I prefer. But yeah, so Nate Heinold is not going to be serving on the board of directors any longer after his term is over.
Yeah, I mean, what did he say? It's been 9 years on the board already?
Yeah, it's basically nearly 25% of his life. He's 40 years old. He is an old man, so just like us. Younger than us, but so, yeah. So he's 25% of his life is,
Well, I was thinking, 9 years, so he's 36, but maybe he's closer to...
I think he's officially 40. He's eligible for masters. I'm fairly certain. So I think it's been over 9 years, like whatever months or something. So which is why he said nearly 25%. But whatever, numbers. Either way, it'll be good to see fresh blood come in. I think anytime you probably lose somebody competent like Nate Heinold is. It's going to be, I don't want to say difficult, but it's a loss for the PDGA, no doubt. Now, the question is, will somebody come in and fill his shoes just as well? I hope so. Maybe. We're all looking forward to seeing what the next PDGA board of directors president, wants to take up, who it is, all these other things. Nate has been, I think, a good, for the most part, president of the board of directors. That's his official title, right? Board of director, president, or something.
Yeah, president of the board of directors.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I think it's going to be a short-term net loss, but Nate can then focus on Ledgestone. He can focus on running tournaments. He can focus on whatever. He's got ample things to do. I don't think he'll be shy of filling up his time. So. Yeah, just a big fat thank you to Nate Heinold for the last 9 to 10 years of what he's done. I'm happy. I'm happy for him if this is what he wants.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's busy with doing a ton of things, including running, whether it's Pro Tour event, multiple Pro Tour events, bidding on, winning a couple of major bids that he's doing. And we're not idiots here. We can absolutely appreciate his efforts, and we also can hear some of the criticisms that have come. I think anytime you're in a position of that nature, every decision that you make or you're involved with is going to be under a microscope. It's going to be scrutinized. And at the end of the day, you're not going to please everyone all of the time, and
including yourself.
Knows that better.
Including yourself. I mean, I guarantee you, if you ask him, he'll look back and say, "Yeah, I made some bad decisions. Not just him, because he doesn't make the decisions. The board does. He's just leading the board. That I guarantee you, he'd look back and go like, yeah, there were mistakes made, but whatever.
Yeah. So it's not that we blindly don't see or hear or recognize that there were some of those criticisms. Like you said, some things he would certainly probably do differently. And there's, with anything in leadership, there's obviously going to be some of learning curve that goes along with it. So I feel like regardless, he's going to probably, I think one of the big challenges that I dislike is that whatever the next bid is that he puts in for some kind of large scale event, major or otherwise, even after he's gone, someone's going to say, well, he was on the board forever and there's still a conflict of interest or whatever. Like, there's certain criticisms. Some might be fair or warranted by some, but there's other criticisms that I think are going to remain no matter what. And that's one of the things that I think I'm going to get frustrated by. And that happens in a lot of different facets of people's lives, is you can remove yourself from something from 5 years ago and somehow you're still criticized or put to blame or whatever. But yeah, I feel like at least that is, I think one of the biggest criticisms of him is people feeling like there's a huge conflict of interest of him sitting on the board and then running big events. And now that will not be the case. And
There is, and he understood that, and he, according to every report and everything we've ever heard, he recused himself from a lot of those situations,
Correct.
if not all of them, probably, and that was what he had done. Well, the cesspool known as Reddit, my favorite. One of my favorite comments was, people obviously were complaining about Nate during this post, and someone was like, yeah, him getting the quote, or getting the bid for Worlds, this and that, and other people just not even bidding because they know it's going to go to Nate. And I was like, that could be the dumbest thing I maybe have ever read in my life. Just don't
give away that title too that easily.
Okay, I'll say that might be it's the dumbest thing I read in the last 2 or 3 days, because I'm thinking, like, if you're putting together a bid for Worlds years in advance, you need to do this, and you're just gonna, you and your crew are just gonna be like, we're not gonna do it because Nate Heinold's gonna get it in 3 years, because you don't know that Nate Heinold is putting out a bid for 1, 2, or 3 years in the future. So dumb. Like, I wanted to reach through my screen and just tell someone how stupid they were for that particular one post. And there was a lot of dumb posts, but that one particular, I shook my head at and went, I don't know if a post could be any more dumb right now.
No, which is kind of funny to me in the sense that some of the criticisms that have come around us being in Emporia for a number of years, or what feels like very often, and or being in Peoria for a number of years, or very often for events. What I think the disc golf community still doesn't realize is there's often times when quality bids haven't come in for events, and at that point, those two cities or organizing committees have been asked, would you be willing to step up, or are you interested in stepping in because we don't have bids that we feel like are quality enough to award them the event. And those communities who have been so disc golf centric for the last 10 years or more have just basically said, yeah, we'll be your default anytime you don't feel like you have a bid that really is solidifies being warranted or being awarded. And I think that has gotten so twisted throughout the years as, everything just goes to them all the time. And it's like, no, they've been kind of our, like, I don't want to say ace in the hole. Yeah, they're our bailout. And no, you may not love that they are, because it feels like we're going there too often or whatever. But at the end of the day, that's because other bids aren't impressing or blowing away the bid committee.
I was thinking about this on my drive home today, how we are a victim of our own success with these majors. Like, we have set the bar so high now, and it's great. UC and Nate and Jeff and just Doug Bjerkis and all these things. These majors have such a high quality and standard that we expect now, that even if you have a pretty solid location with a decent group of volunteers, just think of what Nate has said this year's Worlds has to compete against UC's Worlds.
Right.
Okay. Now, if he does compete and everyone walks away from that saying, yeah, that is so great, that phenomenal. Who wants, unless you know you can do that good of a job, who is going to bid? Like, do you think, Montana, like Montana is going to be like, yeah, I don't know if we can do that. We've got great courses, but man, the spectators, the facilities, all the things, the food carts, everything. I don't know if we should put in a bid for Worlds. This is the problem we're going to have, that unfortunately, doing such a great job, we either need to reset these expectations or get used to like the same 4 groups running Worlds for the rest of our existence. Because I don't know of another way.
Yeah, well, that will be the task for Portland area in 2027. and then following them, we're going to be in Estonia. So
Mm-hmm.
it will be interesting to see, knowing that we're bid out for those next couple of years. They know what's going to happen the year before them. They're going to be able to see and experience it, and it's going to be up to them to find a way to compete with that. And then at that point, yeah, you're talking 2029. Oh, wasn't it 2029 is Estonia? It doesn't matter. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Then start thinking about, who's going to want to follow those up. I mean, in a way, if everyone continues to somehow raise the bar, that's going to be great, and we're all going to win. But it's going to get tougher and tougher to do. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't doubt any of the future organizations that are getting Worlds, but Portland is going to have its work cut out for them as far as
100%.
amenities. Like I hope that they're prepared for that. That this is
well, they've got 14-ish months to be prepared, or 13 or 14 months.
And to be fair, Nate has his work cut out for him in a few months.
Right.
I don't want to skip. Because not that I think it's going to happen, but we could be walking away from Nate's Worlds going like, wow, that was nothing compared to the year before. Like there was, you could walk away disappointed, or you could walk away saying that was even better than Europe. I don't know. Just it's going to be a fun next couple of years, and I look forward to it. And I look forward to figuring out whatever Nate's going to do. Like, is he going to go hardcore into tournament directing? Is he going to dive right back into Ledgestone and try to build that company up even bigger? I don't know, which is exciting because I think he has a great track record for success.
Well, he also, in addition to all those things, I believe he has some a young kid at home. And
who cares? Who cares about kids? We're talking business, Terry.
So we'll see. We'll see where he focuses his time, energy, and attention. But we know that he's not going to probably just sit on his hands, because that's not something he really does. So
can that kid put a Frisbee in a box? Okay, when it can, then we'll start talking.
I think it can by now. So best of luck to him. And like you said earlier, though, go out, vote, and if you don't feel like you're voting for a candidate that you necessarily know or love, well, then put your name in the ring, your name in the hat, whatever, and run for a position yourself, because everybody's eligible to do just that. So follow whatever the links and the details are, and go out and let your voice be heard. So, all right, real quick. I thought I saw something on the board. I saw AVR came back, MD. So Mike, good to see you. Mike, we were talking about hole 18 a little earlier. Swan or Earl, haircut came. Good old friends at Sport Clips, not nearly as exciting. I could not hold off till Mexico. I just couldn't bring myself to hold off almost another month. So I finally just got the haircut a couple days ago. But thank you.
I am so overdue. I'm so overdue for one right now. It's like 3 or 4 weeks past when I would normally get it cut, and mine is just a mess.
No,
it's a mess.
It almost looks like you have a bad toupee. Just saying.
Normally what I do is I take I get a scooter, and I scooter over to the place where I get my hair cut from work, but the weather has been kind of crappy, and the scooters finally came out recently. So I've just been waiting for that to actually go and get my hair cut, like to take my 5-minute scooter ride, so I don't have to find parking downtown, and then doing that. And I take my it's a hike. The problem is I have an hour lunch break. Not that I couldn't go longer, but it's like a 20. Yeah, because
somebody's watching you punch the clock.
Nobody's watching me punch the clock, Terry. But it's like a 25-minute walk both ways, and then I'm like, And again, the weather's been kind of cruddy, and the one nice day that we did have where it was like 75 degrees, they were already booked because I was too lazy.
Just keep your bad toupee then.
I will, Terry. I'll keep my. So I'm due as well.
All right. Well, maybe I'll still get one in Mexico. That'll be 4 weeks from now. just for the experience. I haven't gotten one there yet, so we'll see. All right, I don't have too much more than that here, Johnny. I'm in Austin. I'm going to go try and maybe not tonight. Yeah, it's probably too well. It's not too late, but a few nights from now, I might go seek out some improv comedy or some other stand up, depending on how long my days go.
Go check out the mothership.
Kind of the plan. Yeah, I mean, the comedian Ari who's from Estonia, who some of you have probably seen some of his clips. He's pretty funny. He's sold out every night at the mothership, no surprise. Which is totally fine. I've been there before, and it's great and all. But I also love the idea of, I think it's Cold Town and the Fallout Theater. There's a couple of theaters that have improv, which I'm also a big fan of. I went by this place last night, and it looked familiar from a couple years ago. They have, what do they call it, the Banana Phone or something like that on Sunday nights, which is a really hilarious. It's not quite. It's not improv, and it's not. I guess it's kind of like an open mic, but anyway, it was beyond hilarious when I went a couple years ago on Sunday night. So that might already be in the works for Sunday night here. So I'll get it figured out one way or another, but we'll see how it goes.
Slightly disc golf related.
Good time, lots of fun, lots of craziness, of course.
I was going to say slightly disc golf related, but it's totally disc golf related. A YouTuber or social media person that you pointed me to like a year ago.
Harry Mack.
Harry Mack, thank you. I couldn't remember his name just now.
Oh my God. I watch Harry Mack legit. I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah.
I watch him every day.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm a huge Harry Mack fan.
I know you are, which is why you had showed him to me a year, 2 years, whatever, long ago.
Yeah.
And then today up in my feed, some guy obviously was talking to Harry Mack and gave him a bunch of words and had him do a rap about disc golf. So if you haven't seen him, he's a very talented guy. It's not my style of social media. I would get bored with it very quickly. But this was interesting because it was disc golf related. So go ahead and take a look at Harry Mack. Read or listen to his little song or rap about disc golf, about being a disc that was thrown for an ace and then lost. It was good. I enjoyed it. My son came in as I was watching it, and he goes, "What is that?" And he had never heard of Harry Mack, and I was like, "Oh, it's just this thing." And he's like, "Jesus, that's long. It's like 6 minutes long. It's a good." It's a real solid length, I'll say, especially for like a social media post. But it was cool, just to see him kind of tie that story together was fun.
Yeah, what I'll quickly say about it, as I did watch it, first of all, that was a longer freestyle than he does typically do on any like one subject or whatever, on a couple words. What's funny is if you see him, I would assume most of you would still be impressed especially if you've never seen him or heard him from before. On a scale of 1 to 10, though, in my opinion, because I've probably watched hundreds of his clips, I've watched some podcasts with him. I think he's so insanely talented. I would only rate that like a 6 out of 10 in terms of what I've seen him do. Now he's been on like NBA shows. He's been featured now in a ton of different places because so many people are impressed by him. So he's been on like primetime stuff, doing like big time thing with super athletes and everything else. And he's done some really cool stuff. I'll just say though, of all the things I've seen him do so far, that wasn't even his best effort. But and I don't want to say by a long shot, but like, as good as it was, I'd still only say it was. And I thought of that while I was watching it last time. Like, this is good, but he's so much better even. So don't let that necessarily. I don't want to say sway you, but anyway, it was really good. Yeah, pretty cool to see. I saw a number of disc golfers, including Germ. I think one of the comments in there, it was on Instagram where I saw it, and Germ said something about, "Is this real?" Like, one of my favorites and disc golf, meaning Harry Mack. So clearly he's followed him, but. Yeah, I just think he's insanely talented and really appreciate him, who he is as an artist. So, and I'm not like hardcore in the rap game by any means. I just, as someone who speaks on a mic, so to speak, off the top of my dome, more often than not, as opposed to being rehearsed in any way. I have so much appreciation for how insanely smart and talented and gifted he is. So,
yeah, I don't, when it, whatever, rank rappers, whatever, I don't think he's a great rapper. I think he's a phenomenal wordsmith. I think he's
Right.
good. He's good at what he, like, you want to argue, who's a great, he's no Tretch from, Naughty by Nature, but, it is very impressive, the skill he has to be able to tie the words that people give him and the thing, especially for not really knowing much about disc golf, to be able to rattle that
Right.
off, as he said. So,
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, there's a number of shows and podcasts and people that he's interacted with have very much given him the highest of praise and accolades for how good he is to freestyle. I mean, Will Smith said it. So if the Fresh Prince, you get the Fresh Princes. Okay, maybe not. Well, he did, but anyone, as Tim writes, as someone who forgets words, I am amazed by Harry Mack's wordsmithery. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it, though,
That's
from
all I
this
got.
end. Big shout out. This is an unpaid shout out from our friends at Home 2 Suites, but I do enjoy Home 2 Suites as a brand.
Mm-hmm.
They are sponsoring as well and presenting this event along with Barbasol for the Open at Austin. And I know that a ton of the, if not all of the Disc Golf Pro Tour crew is here, somewhere here at the Home 2 Suites, along with a number of players and whatever. And what I love about this location is we're just a couple blocks off of 6th Street. So whether it's a short Uber ride or a walk or a scooter, I'm not too far from a lot of that action, which I'll probably take in the next couple of nights. So, yeah, very cool location and great place to be. I really like these Home 2 Suites. I was telling, I think it was Philo before he got here today, or him and Perkins maybe, that one of my first interactions with a Home 2 Suites was with you. Was at the 2017 Worlds.
The one that Ricky won.
Augusta. And I just remember more than one of those days going down into, because Perks was talking about how great the breakfasts are set up here. And I remember going down there and just seeing Rick in just full Rick fashion, like just going to town on the breakfast bar. Rick will not, and this is clearly not a fat joke because he's not fat, but Rick does not miss an opportunity for a nice healthy serving of some free food, and and he just was loving the Home 2 Suites. Mm-hmm. And that's where we were for the World Championships that week. And even just hours before he won his Worlds, I remember seeing him down there and talking to him about it.
Yeah, we were chatting with him.
And absolutely love it. So, yeah, pretty cool. All right. Met the guy. Couple quick things off the board. Must be the guy I saw on Inside the NBA. You did. He was on one of those. He's done some MLB type shows as well, but also at the NBA thing, the bathing tub of Barbasol. I don't think we need that. Did you guys see the disc golf dress at the Met Gala? Guys?
It wasn't really disc golf dress, but it did look like a basket because it had like a strap up top and then vertical lines that came down. I don't believe it was disc golf, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe it was disc golf themed, but it definitely looked like a basket.
That's pretty funny. I did not see that. I lost my ticket to the Met Gala. I was going to go.
Yeah, I was going to go too. Yeah, Tim says that the best interview ever was with Ricky in that hotel. It was so much fun. Right. That was I will say pre-social media Rick. That's when Rick was a little bit more raw. And I vividly remember you guys sitting on the couch and I was standing on the other side watching his eyes try to read the comments and answer questions. And like, it's just like, no, Rick, focus on the questions. You don't read the comments, Rick. You never know what they're going to say. That was a great interview. The night he won Worlds.
Yeah. We had him back to that hotel and it was a lot of fun. I definitely agree. So. All right. Well, we'll have a giveaway next week. We can double up on the giveaways. We'll be regular time Tuesday night for the next week for sure. And yeah, maybe we'll have one of our champs. It might be an opportunity for well, it's an opportunity, of course, for the three-peat by Antala. And then, gosh, dare I say, will we see a seventh woman win on the tour this year, or will we finally get to a repeat winner?
6 or 7?
It would be our seventh. We've had 6 different winners in FPO this year.
Okay, yeah, we've had 6 different winners.
So this would be, if it's a new one, it would be our 7th different winner. So it certainly is out there for the taking. And Lucky Lorenzen's back in the mix this weekend too. Her first big event back since having her baby. She played in a small thing.
She did
event recently, but this is her first big event back. And they live they consider this their home course, Sprinkle Valley. So, yeah, she said she was ready to go today. So good to see her out here. And yes, have fun, everyone, at the Tim Selinsky. I heard, don't quote me on this, just tell everybody I told you if it's right. I heard there was going to be final round coverage of, I don't know which divisions, but probably MP40 and FP40. If I had to guess, there might just be final round coverage of those 2 divisions. And again, I do not know that for certain, but I think that's what I heard. So you'll have to keep up on the scores. I heard Jeff Panis in a social media post tonight say there's 518 or 568 players down there in Lake County, Florida. So good luck, have fun. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. Own being frustrated that the Pro Tour and the Masters majors are on the same week. I understand her frustration, but as I told her in the press conference, that applies to you and only you, Own. And I'm sorry she has to make that decision of where to be, but that's the ultimate compliment at the same time. Oh no, do I go win another easy, pick up an easy win maybe in Masters, or do I go possibly win an Open, at the age of 44? Not a lot of other people have that problem in either division, men or women. So, but she definitely showed some frustration today when talking about the 2 of the majors, Masters majors, being on the same week as Pro Tours, and it's
it's hard to feel bad. It really is, because we don't have a lot. As you said, there's a handful of women who even play on the Pro Tour that are playing this weekend.
Right.
You've got a Jen Allen and a Sarah Hokum.
Right.
And occasionally a Holly Finley will play a DGPT event.
And Katrina Allen's technically eligible. Don't tell anybody, but and she's now eligible. But
I didn't
again, I understand. I think a good word could be disappointed, but I don't think it's fair to be upset.
No.
And I don't know where those 2 maybe blur or overlap for her, but it to plan an entire major around her being available seems pretty crazy too, right?
It would be offensive to the 40 or whatever other women that are playing. 14 other women that are playing to tell anyone that you were
500 other participants.
Yes. To be blunt, if I were her, I would have gone and played the major. I know it's way out of her way because you have to go all the way back to Florida, and then from here you're going all the way out to OTB probably. Logistically, it would have been a nightmare for her. I understand it. I would, if I were Own, I would have gone and played the major. She's already got a win. It's not like she's fighting for a win. She's gonna make the finals in the DGPT.
This is a plus event here.
I know.
I mean,
but
what just means more to her, right? A Masters age major, or a win here that's gonna probably be 10 grand. She's going to win more here and get way more points because it's a Masters or because it's an Elite Plus event, which sets her up for later in the year.
So what do we, with 14 women, the winner of is probably going to take home.
He's going to be
5?
$2 grand.
$2 grand?
No.
5 seems a little high. 2,500.
I'm going to say 2,500 to 3,000 will be the win in. And I'm just literally making up my number, but I bet you winner takes home 2,500 at most at Solinsky.
And that could be. And let's just say she's almost guaranteed a $2,500 paycheck there. And no offense to the other women playing, but let's play pretend. Also, you have to take out travel costs because it is out of the way. I get it. Like, even financially, it doesn't make sense for her to go there because she has to take top 3 to make $2,500 practically, maybe top 4.
Where at Austin?
At the plus, right? It'll probably go something like 10, 7, 5, something like that for the top 3.
Yeah, probably.
So she has to take top 4, and not, again, she's very likely to do that because she's a phenomenal player. But if you're looking just purely on the sake for the win, you go to the Masters. If that win doesn't mean as much to you, you keep playing FPO. Honestly, it would definitely say something if she came out and won this event this weekend at Austin, beating the best FPO players in the world. You can look at that Solinsky Masters and go like, that's a nice major you got over there. Cool. I just won an Elite Plus event or 10 grand or whatever it is.
Right.
So it sucks all around, but if I don't know. It just, when you look back, is anyone, and this is just me, I don't care between Elite Plus and Elite. No one looks back and is gonna look at your,
that's fine,
your stuff. And again, this is just, I'm thinking long-term historical purposes at this point. If you look back at that and, when in 25 years, when Mo's still producing, sorry, Mo, and he lists off the number of Elite wins, no one breaks out the Elite Pluses. No one. It doesn't matter.
No, sure.
But you would mention how many majors, even a Masters major, someone has. Because when they talk about OWN, they do bring up those Masters majors. It's again, it doesn't matter either way. She's a lock for the Hall of Fame, all these other things. This would be one more little checkbox in her list. But
I mean, to go along with her like 3 or 4 other Solinsky titles.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. Like, it's just, yeah.
I can understand being disappointed, but the Pro Tour operates roughly 20 some weeks a year, and then by the time you add in the beginning weekend and the after weekend or the actual weekend of the event on a Masters major, like, and you have 2 of those, I don't know. I had a hard time. See, I see her point. I just don't know that I fully agree with it. And with all the respect in the world for her, it sucks that she has the decision to even have to make. I just don't think you can either reprogram Pro Tours around those 3 people or 5 people, or reprogram entire Masters majors around those 3 to 5 overlappers. Like, it is what it is. It
is what. I mean, look at it this way. OWN's giving everybody else a chance to win. Way to go, OWN. You're like a charity.
Yeah. She's a sweetheart like that.
She is a sweetheart.
Best of luck to everyone in all of the divisions, pro or am, over there at the Tim Solinsky, though. 516 people are listed as being ready to go, and it looks like they start tomorrow night. Johnny, last hot take from you then is, who's going to win MP40? Excuse me.
Lake County, Florida.
Sorted by rating.
I wish I knew what the course was like.
Well, there's a couple of them, but Kale LaVisca, Scott Withers, Nate Sexton, Paul Oman, Martin Hendel, Michael Johansson, Cyrus Furman. Furman. I don't know as well.
Matt Blakely, Dutch Napier, Chris Villa.
Yeah. So Steve Brinster, Brad Schick. I mean, we're talking. Ulibarri, Matt Dollar.
I think that the favorite has to be Nate Sexton.
Fair. He won his first one last year.
And then you go probably Kale, Paul Oman, and then Scott Withers. I think that's the
Scott
order.
Withers respect. Gotcha.
I mean, I know he's 1027 rated, but does he have any majors under his belt?
He well played, sure.
Well, great. I have majors played under my belt too, Terry. No one would say I have a major under my belt. Never.
No, he doesn't have any majors, but
okay,
so does
then
Cale.
Sure, but Cale's also a better player than Scott Withers.
Ooh.
Is there statistically, rating wise? I mean, how many Elite Series does Scott Withers have? How many does Cale have? Or NTs? I mean, I don't think Cale has any Elite
Cale's
Series.
got 3.
Yeah,
Cale's got 3.
Oh yeah, Cale has an Elite Series. Yeah, he's got a Maple Hill Elite Series.
Yeah, it was an NT still, but yeah.
Oh, was it an NT at that year? Either way, I mean, just sorry. I love Scott. I love Cale. I gotta give it to Cale. But I do think that Nate Sexton's probably the favorite, just barely, and then you know.
Oh, you're gonna like this. Okay. Scott Withers,
yeah,
has 183 wins
or 173.
Oh, is it 173?
That's what it says on his PDGA page.
Oh, darn it. I thought he had one. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Anyway, he has 173 wins in 398 events.
Mm-hmm.
Cale LaVisca has 182 wins, which is 9 more wins in like 110 more events played.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't care.
Those are numbers.
Those are great numbers. Those are great numbers. Congratulations on your great numbers. Bravo, great numbers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know.
And honestly,
so it'll be fun.
You can't even leave Dutch out either, who was tied for Worlds. Like, I think Dutch would have to be, I would put Dutch even at his rating of like 10 points less than a Martin Hendel and a Michael Joe. Dutch has proven he can do it on the biggest stages. So
yeah.
I mean, but again, I'm gonna say Nate Sexton is the favorite right now, and that's who do I think is, again, I wish I knew the courses better, because I think that would tell me a little bit more about who maybe is going as a better chance to win, if not. But I think it has to go between Sexton and Cale, and it's close.
Well, we shall see. So
yes, no, we won't see. Maybe we'll see the last round, but we won't see all the rounds, Terry, because you're not covering.
No, we won't.
Which is where you would be if you weren't there.
That's very true. All right, Doc Zen, you have a good night, and
everybody have a good night.
Eyes? You do, Tim. All right, and Nate Sexton just celebrated a birthday 2 days ago, along with James Conrad and Will Schustrick. So,
well, he's not winning a birthday he's not winning a major on his birthday. So
major on his birthday, I know. So you didn't really win. With that, we want to thank you guys. Doesn't appear that Joe's in Joe Revere is not in. Nope. He's probably wrapping up school and not wanting to take off to travel to Colorado or travel from Colorado and take off, any final days of school is my guess. So no Joe Revere for this one. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Big shout out to Zach, along with all of the Paul Macbeth Foundation. Again, we are obviously not paid by the Macbeth Foundation in any way, shape, or form, but happy to spread the successes and the campaigns that they continue to put out, because we do truly believe in their mission and their effort, and I think they're doing a great job of it. And I know Johnny thinks the same. So
I do.
Go out, register for Throw for More. Become involved in any way that you can, and hopefully they can meet some of their goals so we can continue to get more courses in more places. And what do you know? They've even got extra giveaways and whatever if you're getting on board, as Zach was breaking down. So that's pretty cool to see. Best of luck to everyone this weekend, whether it's the Solinsky or another event, or just trying to make it through the weekend, whatever it is. Join us on the Disc Golf Network if you want to watch the Barbasol Open at Austin. And we'll guarantee you'll shop for us. We're in Texas. Anything can happen. Keep it weird. For Johnny B, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's SmashBoxxTV episode 606. We'll see you next Tuesday night. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.